Ice baths and cold water baths, cryotherapy, all of those different sorts of tactics have been used to a certain degree for quite a long time for athletes in order for them to aid the recovery process, to get over muscle soreness, to get back to training quicker, maybe speed up the process with which they recover between events. That's kind of the process that it's been used for. Now, that sort of approach has crept its way into sort of the more mainstream aspects of fitness, but does it actually help you achieve your goal? Especially if your goal is to build more muscle. So in this episode of the show, we're going to be looking into ice baths and things like that, and whether they actually promote muscle gain or potentially actually hinder the process altogether. So I'm Simon Mitchell, online body transformation coach, founder of IamParadiseFitness.com. And if you are watching this show on YouTube, thanks so much for joining me. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, that would be absolutely awesome. And if you're listening to this on a podcast, leaving a rating review would be equally awesome. So for now, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this particular exercise and start talking about ice baths. Now, an ice bath might seem like an extreme form of recovery torture for most people. Sitting in a bath of ice cold water might seem like a very shit idea. But do they actually work? Now, from a muscle soreness and a recovery process, there appears to be there might be some benefit to that process. But what I'm interested in looking at is what that does for building muscle. For the average person, potentially recovery isn't the top priority for them. Now, obviously recovery is hugely important, but maybe the need to recover very, very quickly in order to get back into the gym to train that muscle again like the next day is not necessarily most people's primary goal. There's very few people that need to have that speed of recovery for a specific muscle group in order to be able to train it again very, very frequently. Normally, most people can have 2-3 days of just normal recovery, focusing on nutrition and sleep, and then get back into the gym to train that muscle or that muscle group again. So what we're going to be talking about now is a study that actually looked at muscle protein synthesis, i.e. the process of building new muscle, and what having ice baths did on that process. So this particular study was quite a recent one done in 2019 that looked at recreationally trained athletes or fitness people, whatever you want to call them, and looked at how the ice baths affected them both in an acute single instance and also over the course of a 2-week training program where they trained 3 times a week and had 3 ice baths. Sounds very fucking shit to me, because an ice bath is something I don't ever want to do. So what were the results? That's the key thing that we're interested in. Now, for muscle protein synthesis, which is the process of building muscle, which we are most interested in, those people taking ice baths, well, their rates of muscle protein synthesis reduced by 12%. So we can tell from this particular study that having ice baths after you train, where the goal is primarily to create adaptations for building muscle, an ice bath probably isn't the way to go. Like I said before, if your goal though is a sporting event, so maybe you play football, maybe you play rugby, something where it's a quite physical sport, quite demanding sport, and maybe you need to train multiple times per week, or you need to get over a specific training session so that you can play a game at the weekend, stuff like that, then that speed of recovery becomes an important factor in your training. And maybe at that point, being able to perform at your best is the highest priority, not necessarily creating adaptations for building muscle and things like that. That may not be your primary focus. If that's the case, ice bath again might be the way to go for you. But if you're the average person who is going to the gym in order to build muscle, to change their physique, to build some sexy ass glutes, or to build some perfect pecs and bulging biceps, then probably an ice bath is something that you can, thankfully, avoid and still make the most amount of progress possible. In fact, having that ice bath is probably going to work against you. So the bottom line on these ice baths, chill the fuck out. without an ice bath, because it's probably going to work against you in the long term. So don't feel like you're missing out if you're not able to afford going for cryotherapy, or you can't go to specific places to have an ice bath and all this sort of stuff. It's not working against you. Again, it's probably best that you just stick to the key fundamental principles. Train hard, recover hard between your sessions, focusing on nutrition, focusing on sleep, and then giving yourself that 2 or 3 day rest, whatever it needs to be, so that when you go back into the gym again, you are fully recovered and ready to use the last training session as your base point. That's kind of where you want to start from. You want to be going through that recovery process, but it's unlikely you'll need to go into a session one day, recover quickly, and then go and do it again the next day. Having those few days in between your sessions allows you that normal rate of recovery. It allows you to optimize the muscle protein synthesis process and ultimately helps you build more muscle. So hopefully this episode of the show cleared that up for you, and now you don't need to feel like you need to do all of those crazy things after training in order to get the most amount of gains possible. Now, if you want some more information about how to achieve the body that you've been striving for, whether that's to lose weight, build muscle, whatever it may be, I'm going to leave some links in the show notes below. So whether you want to calculate how many calories you need in order to achieve your goals, there's a calorie and macro calculator you can access for free. And I'll also put a link to ironparadisefitness.com. So if you want to delve into some articles around nutrition and training, you want to figure out all of these different component parts of your nutrition, your training, piece all the parts of the puzzle together, then click on that link in that show notes, and that will take you to all the information that you can find on ironparadisefitness.com. And if you've enjoyed this episode of the show, it would be awesome if you tag me in social media posts and things like that. So feel free, Instagram stories, put something in there, tag me in it at iron_paradise_fitness. It's always cool for me to see who's listening and where are you listening to from around the world. That's always quite cool to see. So for now, I'm going to leave you to do all of those different sorts of things. I'm going to thank you for watching on YouTube, listening on a podcast platform. But for now, all that's left for me to say is keep living the lean life, and I'll see you for the next episode of the show.